And we are live. Hey, Tom Anderson. Yes, it is time to. Though you on? Apparently, you're on CPT, which is crypto people time. Crypto people are people who want first mover advantage. They want to be in at the ground floor. They don't want. They don't want to wait for a mature market. They want to spot the opportunity early and get it at the ground floor. So that is a crypto thing right now. Bitcoin's on sale, which I bought on Saturday when it was 60 plus, but it's 60 plus a year from now is gonna be a memory. But yeah, I think as of showtime, it's crashed again to 54,000. A friend of mine, this guy I've mentioned it before. He does a sports ball podcast, and he's on Twitter. And when Bitcoin first hit like 58, I DM'd him. I said, "Hey, did you ever buy crypto? Did you ever buy Bitcoin?" Because he had asked me about it. He DM'd me. He said, "Where do you buy crypto?" I said, "I go to the Gemini Exchange." Blah 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 blah. And I kind of let it go. And I waited a couple of days, and I said, "Hey, are you interested in Bitcoin?" Because there was some sports baller guy, some black dude on some football team who wanted to have his contract paid in Bitcoin. And I thought, wow, that is one smart sports ball guy. I mean, mostly I have a low opinion of them, but apparently, I don't know. I don't remember the guy's name, but he took half his contract in Bitcoin. And I thought that's what it might have sparked this guy who does the podcast. Like, hey, this is kind of going on. But he said, no, just thinking about it, whatever. He says, but I'm going to wait for the price to come down. Well, the price went from 58 to 43, and now we're back up to 56. I mean, we touched 61 and came back down. So I DM'd him again. I said, "Hey, did you ever buy Bitcoin?" He goes, "Nah, I didn't get around to it." So some people are just not going to get around to it. But other people like now are going to look and go, "Holy crap, Bitcoin's on sale." Like it's on sale, and you should be buying the dip. You should. I wonder if I have an email about that. Oh shit! Oh, look what I closed the wrong tab. Uh-oh. Let's see how well this works now. Now our Boomer Tech is going to over the Boomer Tech nature. I had windows and tabs open correctly, but I must have shut them for whatever reason. I think I did shut them down. I think we're going to be So much good stuff. So much good stuff to put up there. But yeah, tonight's an Uzo stream without a doubt. It was on Jonathan Poll's show Saturday. You know what I mean? And yes, buy the dip. The poll got like, I think there was like 3 or 4 comments. I checked. I just went to see how many comments there were. So a bunch of people yelling at me and stuff. And like, they don't even get like, the whole point of going on a stream is you want to say stuff that engages the audience, right? At least you hope you're going to engage the audience somehow. So if I got people so riled up that they're going like, James doesn't know anything about Christianity. He's stupid about this. He's stupid about that they bother to comment afterwards. You know what I mean? After the stream is over, one, it excited them to the point where they'd actually do something about it. And 2, anybody else comes by the stream, they look in the comments and they're like, oh, what's that? What did they say? It was controversial. Then they listen to the stream to figure out where this exciting and controversial content came from. This is so, oh man, I really feel like I've screwed the pooch on this one. I have totally screwed the pooch. Title, where's the title? Is it over here? It's wherever it is, it's not where I think it is. The title of the stream is called To Steal a March, which is a military term. I tried to Google the exact thing of it because it was, the first time I read it was like, it was referencing a battle in Greece in like 700 BC. And what they used to do is they would agree like on the day and the place that they were going to go to war. And then each army would march day after day after day after day until they got to the battlefield. They would camp out overnight, and when the sun rose the next day, they would gear up and then go at it. And this one general, and I can't, the problem is they all have similar names. I think the guy's name was, I want to say it was Neomachus or Neomarcus or something like that. But I Googled that name a couple of times and different names came up. But there was like 10 guys with that name. Anyway, this guy decided he wanted to win, and he didn't want to exactly play by the rules. So he would march his army later and make them go to sleep later and wake up earlier, so that they were kind of like marching at night and moving at night and sleeping in the day. So when they got to the battlefield, not the night before, but the day before, and they waited. And when the other army came up in the daytime and went to night, they woke up because they had screwed up their circadian rhythms. And then they attacked in the middle of the night and they wiped those guys out. And it was called To Steal a March. He stole a march. He essentially took first mover advantage, preemptive action, right? He did it to them way before they were ready. And it's a trick that only worked once, but it only needed to work once. You know what I mean? This guy won the war, and that was that. So, but the term To Steal a March is used in war and politics. You see it a lot in the 1800s. But what I wanted to talk about, and this is killing me that Gmail is not loading. This is absolutely, I completely screwed this up again. My boomer tech mind. I closed the wrong tabs before the show. I was thinking about the other show. I was like, oh, I got all this stuff set up, and I didn't get to show. And that's what happened to me again this time. All right, what do I want to talk about? I want to talk about Oracle, which the Oracle of Delphi? No, Oracle, the software company. The history of Oracle is the CEO, Larry Ellison. Oracle is a database software company. And they, in the 90s, in the go-go 90s, they were relatively unknown, but just out of the blue, they won a contract from CIA to use, the CIA was going to use the database software, which once that came, went out to have Oracle software. Larry Ellison, the CEO of Oracle, is of course a member of the tribe, right? And he became like super rich overnight, and Oracle was the database software to have. So that's the history of it. And he, of course, and he was in the movie Iron Man. He was in, I think the original Iron Man movie, like the first one, where Iron Man goes to the charity bowl that's in his name, but he never goes to, and he hops out of the supercar and he's shaking everybody, whatever. And at one point, he shakes somebody's hand, some bald guy, and he says, "Hey, Larry Ellison, the Oracle of Oracle," like in the way the first movie kind of mixed real in the stock market and stuff, and that guy Jim Cramer in with the net. So Oracle still hopes to be relevant, at least in Hollywood. Well, Oracle's board of directors were contemplating adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. And I got a picture here. I wonder if you can see that. A picture. There's a chart of Oracle's stock price. And you can see about 2 weeks ago, it went from 62 and it jumped up all the way to $73, right? And then the board of directors announced that no, they're not adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. And the stock promptly tanked. It just tanked. It dropped out of like 7 or 8%, just boom, done. So what does that tell you? Oracle software, which is the deep state of deep state, is being pushed around by Bitcoin, and they don't even understand it yet. You think, well, it's just a Wall Street thing, a blah, 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 blah. But everyone is expecting to get some sort of exposure or access to Bitcoin. And if you do that, you'll be richly rewarded even by the financial system. For example, Tesla, which put Bitcoin on its balance sheet when it was $35,000, has now doubled its investment, or almost doubled its investment, and made more than $1 billion off of Bitcoin in 4 months, right? And that's more money than Tesla has made selling their toy cars in their entire existence. And if you think people haven't noticed this, and people that smart people with money didn't notice, hey, wait, Tesla made more money in 4 months doing nothing, just holding Bitcoin, than they made selling their toy cars for 10 years. We got to get into this. That's why they punished Oracle as badly as they did. And Bitcoin has stolen a march on the entire financial world. It really, really has. And Wall Street has not figured out a way to counter this. They are reeling from this. No matter what they say, no matter what they do, they have no idea how to counter this. And there's nothing that gives returns like this. And the gravity of it is just spinning people's minds up like crazy. So yeah, right now 53K as a dip. Even at that price, to be honest, one full Bitcoin is outside the reach of most Americans. I mean, it's like beyond a dream. But in this cycle, if you have one Bitcoin, probably you'll be rich by the end of the year. And then the next 4-year cycle, if you have 1/10 of a Bitcoin, you'll be rich. That's how much it's going to go up. So if you say, well, I don't have a full Bitcoin, I don't have half, I don't have a quarter. If you got 1/10 of a Bitcoin and you can hang on for 5 years, you're going to be rich. Just do nothing. Just do nothing, and you'll get rich with 1/10 of a Bitcoin. Not this cycle, but the next cycle, certainly. And like I said, Wall Street is not ready to compete against this. The U.S. Federal Reserve is not ready to compete against this. They can't. There's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do, and Bitcoin is just tearing them up. Now, all these other cryptos, these whatever, will be cryptos. Like, they look like that. Where's my man Pepe? This is really what. I wonder if it's sideways. Will that work? Right, there's Pepe. He's Bitcoin, and then there's the little autistic frog. That's altcoins, And on the little autistic frog's hat, it says, "Please be patient with me. I have autism." And he's eating an ice cream cone, except he dropped the ice cream cone. Bitcoin is the king. It moves, and everything else moves behind it. People talk about, this advantage and that advantage over Bitcoin, and that's just. I heard Michael Saylor talk about this, and he said, a couple of things. One of the criticisms of Bitcoin is that, you can't buy pizza with it, or you can't buy a cup of coffee with it. Well, do you need to? Do you really need to go to Starbucks with Bitcoin, or go to, buy fucking pizza with Bitcoin? Is that what you really need it for? Because Apple Pay is already doing that, and Google Pay is already doing that. They're probably doing it 1,000 times better. So Bitcoin doesn't need that. You know what I mean? The same way you don't carry your entire bank account around in your wallet or your purse. Why would you need to keep all your money in one place and use it for every transaction? You take out a little bit from the ATM, and then you go spend it or whatever, and that's that, right? So this idea that it doesn't have 100% privacy. Well, 100% privacy implies illegal activities, and that's going to make you an enemy of the U.S. federal government and every other government around the world. And if you consider the amount of dollar transactions that are legitimate, that are legal, right, in this world, versus the amount of transactions that are illicit or illegal, right? The scale of it. Yes, there's a lot of money in drugs and terrorism and whatever, but it's compared to how much money there is in buying groceries and servicing your mortgage and doing every legal thing, buying clothes, right? All the normal things. The amount of illegal money in the world is tiny, very, very tiny. So, and you want to be where the majority of legal transactions are. You don't want to be in the shadows hoping that no one comes to get you. So most of the criticisms of Bitcoin in favor of some fucking altcoin, some fucking shitcoin, are poorly thought out. You want to be super dominant in the market, and that's what Bitcoin is. And you want to wipe out all the competition. I mean, Bitcoin's nearest real competition is 100 times smaller than it, or Bitcoin is 100 times larger than Bitcoin Cash, like 100 times larger. You know what I mean? It's the gorilla in the room, and the elephant in the room. Say whichever way you want to say it, and you're not going to beat it. So everything else, could you make a few bucks here and there? I guess you could, but it's not where you want to be. You want to be where the action is. You want to be where the crowd is, and that is Bitcoin. So I was looking at the news, and there was some stuff that was sort of interesting, but sort of not interesting. Like I realized how recycled so many things are. There was a thing on the U.S. military has got a new combined forces PT test. It's like the gender neutral physical test. And all the women failed it. Like every woman that took it failed, even though they lowered their standards and lowered their standards and lowered their standards. All the females, they still failed it. So, such a huge percentage failed that it was ridiculous. But this kind of thing happened. I remember a long time ago when, mention the movies again, there was the movie Top Gun, right? Which they made a remake. It was supposed to come out last year, but COVID killed it. Every movie, but so the Tom Cruise movie where he's a fighter pilot with the F-14, which was a plane that was like originally built in 1968. So by 1986, it was like 10 years out of date already, but whatever. So he's the hotshot fighter pilot, and for the U.S. Navy, right? And the Navy wanted a female fighter pilot, and they had one. She could take off and land on land, but in order to be a naval aviator, a Navy pilot, you have to land on an aircraft carrier. And in order to do that, if you've ever seen it, it was dramatized in the movie, but you could see video, you could see real world video of it on YouTube all the time. You have the pitching deck of an aircraft carrier, and the plane has to come in behind it. And at a certain point, there's someone who looks at the back of the boat and tells you what to do with the plane. And you have to believe him 100% and do exactly what he says. And you'll land on the deck. And anyway, this female pilot, she was just scared. She couldn't do it. She would get close to the back of the boat and then she would panic. She would eject, you know what I mean? And that, like, 3/4 of the U.S. Navy would have to fish her out of the drink. And one of those F-14 fighter planes, which was like a $50 million fighter plane, bloop, into the drink it went, you know? And I think she dumped about 5 fighter planes into the ocean, and then they finally abandoned it. So they cost about $250 million, or $250 million for them to fail at that. Your Manrick, yes, get a job, eat ramen noodles, drive a beer car, and stack Satoshis. So this attempt to make females, competent, and in the U.S. military has been going on for decades and decades. I mean, it's the latest fail, but they failed pretty spectacularly in the past. So nothing super new about that. Other than, oh yeah, by the way, smash up the like button, guys. Make sure to smash up that like button. I even got Jonathan Pohl saying that. He was saying that on somebody's street. He was like, smash up the like button. Oh, I'm having a positive influence on people. Reminding the audience that, you don't just, you have to actively participate. Tomorrow in Washington, D.C., this will be exciting. Magic mushrooms they've been legalized. They were legalized in the last election cycle. 70%, 70% of the people in the District of Columbia voted to legalize magic mushrooms and something else, ayahuasca or whatever I don't know what the fuck it is. And can you literally, Washington, D.C. is going to be legally hallucinating. Now, whether that's the politicians or just the average people in the street, but I don't know. Tom Anderson, where's everyone? I don't know. You and your Manrick are in the chat at my whatchamacall counter up here says we got a couple of lurkers as well, but I don't know. Other people are there's some other places. I can't even see how long I've been running. I don't know why that is. But whatever. You know what? Maybe it's the daylight savings time got them all. They haven't wrapped their heads around it yet. I don't know. Yeah, but legalized mushrooms, legal magic mushrooms in Washington, D.C. What could possibly go wrong? And for the people who think this is a good idea, once the criminal element, once the Dindus figure out that white dudes, 26 minutes we're running already? Okay. Yeah, usually there's a counter up here for me, from what I see on my screen, but it just says live, and now I have 5 viewers. So once Dindus figure out where the dispensary is that gives out mushrooms, and that dopey white kids are going to be tripping on mushrooms, they're going to come, they're going to take your mushrooms, they're going to take your car, they're going to take your girlfriend as well, and you probably won't get all 3. You won't get the mushrooms back, and you won't get your car or your girlfriend back in any way that you would want them. Once they figure that out, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be super, super interesting. And it just cannot end well. The other thing I want to show was I had a graph of the GDP of a number of different countries. To make a long story short, China is the only country that their economy grew, or the GDP grew. I think it was by 2.3%. Everyone else shrank. So the fear of China taking over, everyone says, "Oh, China owns Joe Biden, this and that, blah 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 blah." Whatever. We know it's not his in-laws are not all Chinese, right? The big money donors to him are not Chinese, and he didn't have to go speak in front of the Chinese American Political Action Committee. We all know that. I mean, did they bribe him to get what they want? Sure, but so what? But the China fear, and this I think is what's really going to make the Biden administration look like it's hallucinating or feel like it's hallucinating because they got shit completely wrong. China, having thrown off this COVID thing and said we're not playing this game anymore, they opened up their economy and they've recovered a lot faster than we have. And then we haven't opened up yet, and the inflation hasn't hit yet. So we got some big problems. But Uncle Joe and the stimmy checks, I don't know if you guys paid attention, he was supposed to sign the legislation on Friday, but they switched it instead. They brought it up one day, and they signed the legislation on Thursday. And, without much of an explanation, and, the theory was, they want to get the checks out faster. Well, that's bullshit, right? It's not like one day is going to make a difference at this point. Like you didn't become homeless in the last, it's 17 or 18 months, but the one day, is going to make a difference. The reason why they moved it to Thursday is because I think the House of Representatives passed some gun legislation. I mean, it didn't go through the Senate, and Biden didn't sign it yet. But one of the things in the legislation is that even private transfers are subject to background checks. So this is a way of criminalizing the entire South. So if you inherit guns, you're from a parent or a grandparent, whatever, your daddy, your grandpa's coach, side by side shotgun that's that's 95 years old or something like that you first shot when you were a kid, and now grandpa's passed away and he left the gun to you in a will. Well, if you didn't go through a NICS background check, technically you're a federal felon now. So that legislation passed on Thursday. So in order to hide that, in order to make that not the news, they moved up the signing ceremony for the stimmy checks, because all everyone's going to think about is the stimmy check, and they're not going to notice that other thing. And once it's done, it's done, and now the weekend's over and we're past it. So this is. I mean, it's fairly typical, pretty standard operating procedure for the White House to do this, but they're trying to. They know they don't really have the energy to drive forward their agenda, so they're gonna have to try and hide it. Except, how many stimulus check signings can you do? You know what I mean? They're gonna be, the left is gonna demand they advance the agenda, but what can you do to hide it? What can you do to screen what you're doing? They're not gonna be able to do that. And additionally, the economic, I'm 100% convinced that it's the economic issues. Once they open up, and inflation starts running like crazy, and they're demanding you get a 3 COVID shots or 5 COVID shots or however many COVID shots. This is going to go against them really, really, really badly. They're not. They're going to be so badly beaten by events that nothing will be able to save them. And you wouldn't even have. Biden's not even now. The easy part, the salad days, the glory days, when they're still throwing the parades and the rose petals are still fluttering around on the parade ground. They can't even wheel Biden out to do a press conference. So, once the glory of the win fades, into history. Once we get into summertime, we're going to have the George Floyd trial. We're going to have a couple of cities burning there. BLM, are they going to play nice? Probably not. They'll find another good boy or girl, or another Breonna Taylor or whoever to make a martyr out of, and never mind the body cam, never mind any of that. And they'll, will they keep burning cities down while the economy goes nowhere and China grows by leaps and bounds? It's going to be real ugly. You know what I mean? And everybody's favorite Donald Trump is like, never has somebody sunk into irrelevance as fast as this guy. I mean, he was supposed to be Trump unleashed. Oh my God, he's not restrained by having to appear presidential, and he's just fucking sinking to the bottom so fucking fast. It's unreal. He released like a 27-page statement about, like, listen, you're Donald Trump. You don't release 27-page statements. You come out in front of a camera. You have your fucking your quip, your zinger, your fucking, your way to redefine everything, which is what got him into the White House. Whatever that ability was, he has completely lost it, and just down and down and down and down to the, swirling the fucking bowl is those fucking MAGA people and the Trump people. I mean, that is one hell of a dead horse. And I actually passed the house. I was driving around. I went to go. There was a gun store, and like a couple towns over, they ended up closing. But I figured I'd drive by to see if they had any ammo. And they did. Since they were closed, they didn't. But I passed a house with not one but two Trump flags in front of it, and I thought, that's a person in need of psychiatric intervention. Like, did somebody not tell them? Like two flags, not one, two giant red flags, and I'm like, dreams die hard. Dreams die really, really hard. And if you want to argue with reality, I guess it can be funny sometimes, probably not if that's a member of your family, but when you see like somebody arguing on the street, like you're driving through a city or something, and you see some homeless dude arguing with his crack genie, or whatever the fuck he's doing at a street corner, you can laugh at him. You know what I mean? He's sitting there on a park bench having an argument with the genie from the crack pipe. You can laugh. I mean, if it's your family, it isn't so funny. But for people to think that Trump is going to be the counterweight to the Biden administration, he's so done. He's cooked and cleaned and fucking served up on a platter, finished. Judas Fly Chai, welcome. Are you going to move to Washington, D.C.? They have magic mushrooms on sale there. You might like that, Mr. Fly Chai. Seems to me kind of up your alley. So, yeah, and then, in looking, and when I survey the landscape, I still see DeSantis as the number one guy, the number one political figure to face Biden, because what's in there? Greg Abbott, chucklehead. First, he comes out against big tech, which wasn't bad. He's like, oh, Google and Facebook, and we're going to get them, because they deplatform conservatives. And then 2 days later, what does he do? He attacks Gab. Oh, Gab is anti-Semitic, blah, 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 blah. And all my guys from Twitter, Nico and all the other dudes, they're all over on Gab, and they're all having a party over there. So, because he's been bounced off of Twitter for the a millionth time, thousandth time. But yeah, so Governor Abbott is very gaffe prone. When I think about the guys that are looking to get into the White House, the way I see it today is these guys, they can't talk about anything that's really going on. I mean, Trump did, he touched on these things, but once he got in office, he stopped talking about them. But most of these guys, even because they're not as verbally skillful as Trump was, they can't even mention, they can't tweet, or they're not good with social media. They can't even bring things up, So they have to distract you from what's really going on and make the distraction seem important and try to ride that into the White House without offending the donor class. And that's like almost impossible. I cannot imagine anybody smart enough or nimble enough to do that. And especially now as the boundaries for what is acceptable discourse get narrower and narrower and narrower, and the number of ridiculous, the ridiculous times you have to bow to some, to transgenderism, to this, to that, to the other thing. And even Trump had to do that, he was going to stop transgenders in the military, and then no, let it go through. So there's no stopping it. There's no stopping it. And none of these guys, is smart enough to pick their way through that very, very narrow path. Judas Fly Chai in the chat. My mom's estranged brother self-medicates on meth. Well, I guess obesity is not one of his problems. Judas Fly Chai also in the chat. I ordered vegetarian chili cheese fries. If it's got cheese, how is it vegetarian? Isn't cheese an animal product? Or is it that like soy cheese? I don't know. This is you. Now you got me curious, Judas Fly Chai. Was vegetarian allow dairy, but it doesn't allow, different from vegan, something like that. But chili cheese fries, yeah, I'm all for it. All for it. So I'm glad that you're keeping the DoorDash guys busy. Make sure to tip them in cash, because if you tip them on the app, the fucking DoorDash people are probably stealing money. But that's kind of where we are. How long have we been doing this now? 45 minutes. Imitation chili. So what are they using? Like tofu? Or are they using that not really meat? Do you have Judas Fly Chai? Do you have like connections to Israel and their 3D printed meat? What's happening on that front? Because the one thing that all this stimulus is going to create once the economy opens up on the East Coast, and that'll probably be by summer, will be super inflation. I mean, inflation is this might seem like a trivial thing, but I because I'm on the road, I'm always stopping in 7-Elevens and various different convenience stores and stuff like that, and I'll grab like a prepackaged sandwich, a bag of chips, a bag of Doritos. When I used to look at the calorie count on everything because I didn't, like trying to keep my calories within a certain range. And a bag of Doritos used to be 450 calories, and now it's 400 calories even. And you might think, well, that seems like a petty observation, but they reduced the amount of whatever chips in the bag by 12%. Is anybody going to notice? Well, not unless you're counting calories, and most of the Doritos customers are not calorie counters. But that is. That is going to happen everywhere, and it will reduce obesity. Judas Fly Chai, I work for the Mossad. Well, I'm not sure what you do for the Mossad, Judas Fly Chai. I'm pretty sure you're not out I don't think they send you out as a button man. You know what I mean? I don't think you're a trigger puller. And so I'm sure the Mossad has other important tasks that they can put loyal persons such as yourself to work for the greater state of Israel. But where are we at? Now we got 6 viewers. So there's more people showing up, but they're all lurking. Everybody's a lurker. All you lurkers, if you're going to lurk, at least smash up the like button. You know what I mean? You don't have to announce yourself. I understand you're embarrassed. Then you subscribe to the show, and then you even have to listen to me for 5 minutes. But no one's going to be able to tell that you just hit the like button, gave me feedback that I'm not completely out of my head. But all right, so yeah, the chat does seem a bit light tonight. What happened to Ear Manrick? He shut up for one. One minute and then he's gone. So yeah, so that's where I see things. We've got still enormous advantage in Bitcoin. They have nothing to compete with it. The central bank, the Federal Reserve, central bank digital currency is years away, at least 2 or 3 years away. Thank you, Judas Fly Chai, for smashing up the like button. I would go. In fact, Judas Fly Chai, every time you see this channel, you should hit that like button as hard as an Israeli tank hits a Palestinian village. That's how hard you should smash it up. But yeah, in terms of rebalancing, Eon Manrick, you on the glide machine? What do you got? One of those Nordic things. Is that what you're talking about? I think that's what you're talking about, Eon Manrick. I hope so. You're not talking about something else. I don't know. I don't know what the. I'm getting a little scared because I don't know what that reference is. The advantage we have right now to stack Bitcoin is enormous. The big whose turn? I don't. Judas Fly Chai, you crazy person, you crazy vegetarian chili guy. Oh, on the glide. That means you're driving in a car. Oh, wow. That means I'm on the glide like 6 days a week. I do not know, Judas Fly Chai, who the turd flinging monkey is. Is that who's that? What's his name? Who's the guy that was in the Luke Ford show? What was the one that lived in the illegal settlement in Israel? What was the guy's name? I haven't even thought about Luke Ford in forever. Talk about missed opportunity. Halsey English. Is turd flinging monkey Halsey English? Is that the same guy? Is it one and the same? I think it is. From what I ever saw of Halsey English, he imagined himself a much better verbal combatant than he really was. He would always immediately like make toilet references. As like the first, Halsey English. Like he would always go to like toilet references, like immediately. And I don't know why you think that that's genius. I assure you, no one else, no Gentile thinks that toilet references are rhetorical or are impressive rhetorical flourishes. If you're excessively earthy in your bants, you're going to lose most of your audience. You got to keep that in mind. You can use it to some degree or another, depending on your overall presentation. But you want to think through that. And Halsey English did not, as I remember. Also, he was a nicotine addict, right? He was always hitting on that vaping pipe or something like that. So who knows? He's probably got all those heavy metals in his lungs, and he can probably barely breathe these days. These guys, nobody. It seems, looking at Twitter. Twitter's pretty dead politically. The only thing I'm on Twitter for really is the crypto stuff. The best crypto accounts are on there, and none of them are on Gab. Gab is like a crypto wasteland. There's only like a couple. There's like a bunch of real shitty hustlers and shills. Not even worth going there for. But everything, we're in a position now where we spend a lot of time on social media, and that's how we get our information, and we interact with people to a greater or lesser degree. And I'm not even trying to start fights anymore. I used to deliberately try and start fights, and I'm like, I don't even fucking care. I don't even care. It isn't even fun to me to smash people on social media anymore. It's like, okay, you know what? I have things I have to do here. I have like a future to prepare for, and that, decisions to make, and I have to watch what's happening and how my life's changing. And then I got to make, that's more important than beating up people on social media. And, I can't get, I can't find a sense of purpose in it. You have your worldview, best of luck to you with that. And I have mine, at the end of the day, it's fair to say, especially the Bitcoin people always say, we put our money where our mouth is. You know what I mean? We put our money where our mouth is. So, and every day, a group of strangers, that is to say the market, decide whether or not we're correct or incorrect. You know what I mean? And we live and we accept that judgment. So there's a level of scrutiny and honesty to what we do that other people who are very, very successful people don't Like they were saying, like Jordan Peterson, that Jordan Peterson guy, right? Oh, he's going to be the greatest thing, and he's going to be whatever they thought he was going to be. Meanwhile, his wife's dying of cancer. He's he's on pills or coke or whatever, making $10 million a year, distracting people from elite power, And there was the famous video of some guy who says, hey, did you ever read Alexander Solzhenitsyn's 200 Years Together, blah, 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 blah. Talking about, the Jewish influence and the gulags and the Holodomor. And Jordan Peterson goes, oh, I can't. Of course you can't, because you're going to lose your $10 million payday. You end up losing your $10 million payday anyway, because you're a junkie, you know what I mean? Who making money and doing speed was more important than, your wife's health. And then, when it all falls apart, he goes, oh, my wife's dying of cancer. Well, why would you even mention that on social media? You got $10 million. You don't need to pay the rent. You could just go, if you got $10 million a year, even if you got half a year's salary, you could just quit right now and go sit with your wife for 6 months. Like, why would you even mention it? You know what I mean? So somebody's like, oh, Jordan Peterson's going to get into Bitcoin. I don't give a fuck if Jordan Peterson gets into Bitcoin, or even, even with whatever Tesla and Elon Musk. This is not driven by personalities. This is not going to be driven by, individuals. What drives this, the value proposition here, is far, far greater than any given cult of personality. You know what I mean? And the degradation of civilization by the debasement of the currency, and therefore the debasement of your behavior, because maybe not the people in this audience, but a lot of people are going to have to do things that they have never considered before. If you read about Weimar Germany, and to mention Luke Ford again, who used to talk about this a little bit, in Weimar Germany, like there was a street. No, that's just a street full of prostitutes, but it was a street just for pregnant prostitutes. And then if you went to the first third of the street, it was literally women in their first trimester. And if you went to the middle of the street, it was women in their second trimester. And if you went to the end of the street, it was women in their third trimester. And that was prostitution in Weimar Germany. And this is repugnant. This is repugnant. But those women didn't make that choice because they were bad and immoral people. They did that because it took a fucking wheelbarrow full of money to buy a loaf of bread, and they have to eat and they have to feed their kids. So you do what you got to do, and that's a debasement of human behavior, but that follows the debasement of the currency. The debasement of the currency that's currently happening now is going to bring American society lower. And you're going to say, oh, it can't be any lower. Have you seen Cardi B? It can't be any lower. Have you seen, I don't know, whatever behaviors are going on in pop culture? Like, who was that girl? Hannah Montana. What was the girl's name? The cute little girl that turned into like a prostitute. I can't remember the kid's name. Cute kid she was. What's her name? Our father was a country singer. What the hell was her name? Travis. I'm not Travis Tritt. I don't remember the girl's name, but whatever. You know what I'm talking about. So that behavior, Miley Cyrus. There you go. Thank you, Judith Fletcher. I appreciate the hip cultural references that elude me, because basically I'm like mostly a boomer. That's going to be, and I think that's going to be the epitaph on my my tombstone. Mostly a boomer. Probably because my tombstone will be carved out by some millennial punk who didn't really want to work that day, but in order to get his UBI, he has to do his 1 day's work out of 30, and so he'll just put ironical things on dead people's tombstones, because one, it shows he's independent and he doesn't really need the UBI too. It's his spiteful FU to the world before him, which he perceives to have been much better. And that's a lot of those millennials are just like that. I still can't get Gmail to load. That is just absolutely infuriating. Next week with all new memes, I'm sure I will. I'll get it right sooner or later. I'll get it right. I've got the right T-shirt though. This is my. I wore this to Charlottesville. Training to throw communists out of helicopters. So one of my all-time favorite T-shirts. So with the widespread use of legal drugs and the debasement of the currency, which is going to lead to behaviors that will be more extreme than what you've seen. If you think what you've seen is the worst, you haven't seen the worst, not by far. You need to be ready for that, and not. You can't let that knock you off track. You have to think about what you're going to do. And again, I hope everybody's stacking like crazy. Buy the dip. Buy the dip. Buy the dip. If you bought Bitcoin, buy more. Right now, buy more. Smash that buy button. You will be happy in a month that you did, or 2 months that you did. Day to day and week to week, Bitcoin's going to fluctuate, but it on average it appreciates 200% a year, and we're already up 500% or 470 something percent so far this year. So continue to do what's going to work for you and keep you safe and open up opportunities for you in the future. You've got to keep doing that, even though you go, oh geez, Bitcoin's down. You have to make yourself buy that dip. You have to force yourself to do it, because next week or 2 weeks from now, you're going to be happy you did. You're going to be real happy you did. It's tough to motivate yourself in the moment to do that. But that's what we got to do. And then, like I said, all this, the crazier things get. I just gained another lurker. Welcome, lurkers. We got, so it's like 3 people in the chat and 4 lurkers. So we're, I don't know. It's not quite even Steven, but it's close. Anyway, viewer number 7, welcome to the show. But yeah, you have to, you have to prepare yourself for that. It's going to be really, really bad. Like I said, so get ready to watch more cities burn with George Floyd, and be aware that when that kicks off, like immediately after that kicks off, you're going to have, and I don't know where you live or what your circumstances are, but there's going to be black dudes looking to capitalize on that. You know what I mean? When my old channel like got wiped out, there were black guys just running up to white girls in the street going, hey, I work for Black Lives Matter. Will you say Black Lives Matter and hold up your fist? Will you do this? Will you kneel down? They were making these girls do this stuff in the street. I don't know if you remember those videos. And this white girl's like, she's terrified. Like, okay, yeah, Black Lives Matter. She kneels down. And he's like, oh, will you be my girlfriend? Then she ran off. She said no. But these people are going to be opportunistic. There's no well thought out political philosophy behind what they do. They're going to use George Floyd, whichever way it goes. And short of actually hanging Derek Chauvin or whatever that guy's name is outside the courthouse, as soon as the verdict is rendered, they're not going to be happy, right? And they're going to riot. So, and that puts the deep state really wants, they really want to make the Soviet Union in America. And if you guys ever saw the film, The Death of Stalin, which was a really good film, the guy who plays Beria was a Jewish actor, but he plays Beria, the head of the Secret Service. And there's one of the prison guards, one of the guards in one of these nightmare tombs where Beria goes, has a stutter. And the guy's terrified of Beria, but Beria never talks to him, so he's like, I made it. And then at one point, Beria talks to him, and the guy goes, and Beria just like locks onto that, and he's pissed, and he said, "Be here when I get back. Be here when I get back." And this guy's like, "Oh shit," and he has to stay there until Beria decides to kill his family or rape his daughter or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but that's that's the police force or the enforcement arm that these people want. And the question is, can they get it? And the thing is, if they hang this guy Derek Chauvin for for literally doing nothing, doing his job, police all around the country are just going to stop doing their jobs, and that's going to make things worse for them and worse for them. So it's going to spin just out of control and out of control and out of control, and the economy is going to get worse and worse and worse. And there's nobody, whoever's pulling the strings behind the scenes, or whichever group of people competes to pull the strings behind the scenes. They're way too ideologically blind to reality to be able to react well. And everything they're going to do is going to be, it's just going to make it worse. This thing with the stimmy check and the gun control legislation, hiding one behind the other, that's probably going to be the high point of the administration. I think it's going to go, I think it's really going to go down from here. But we got to the point where I think I'm starting to repeat myself. Tom Anderson, how long have I been going? I got to be going an hour at least now, right? So I'm trying to make these streams a bit shorter because, like I said, I don't believe people, or most people, have a tremendous amount of time. They don't have like 2-3 hours to do this. Oh, now the counter goes all of a sudden. Here, 1 hour. What the? No. It's like 1 minute and 8 seconds. I don't know what this thing is saying. Between my potato class internet and the whatever the algorithm does to people like us, there's I don't have a clear understanding of what's happening. So at least on this stream, in other areas, things. I do have a clear understanding. So not everyone has everything right, but I think mostly I have things right. And we will have to see what that is. Anyway, gentlemen and ladies, it looks like they're dropping off in my numbers are dropping. So I will let you guys out. Thank you for showing up. I will see you again next week, depending on how work goes, either Sunday or Monday. Depending on, again, it's dependent on my job, but thanks a lot for showing up, guys. And I will talk to you again next week. Good night.